Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Ukraine and the United States begin talks in Saudi Arabia, with Kiev expected to be present with a plan for a partial ceasefire with Russia. Now, this comes just hours after Kiev said it carried out its biggest drone attack in history, targeting the Moscow area. India says it has not committed to slashing import duties on U.S. products. Days after U.S. President Donald Trump announced New Delhi has agreed to cut its tariffs way down, the Indian government says it has sought time until September to address the issue. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte arrested in Manila airport for crimes against humanity. Under an ICC warrant, Duterte is charged for his involvement in the war on drugs in the Philippines during his tenure from 2016 to 2022. A bus overturns in South Africa's Johannesburg, killing at least 12 people and injuring dozens more. The cause of the accident is under investigation. And Chad and Bangladesh ranked as the world's two most polluted countries in 2024, with smog levels 15 times over the WHO limits. Only 7 nations met the WHO air quality standard last year, as per the air quality monitoring firm IQ Air. Hello and welcome. We begin with Mauritius, which is hosting Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a 2-day state visit. Prime Minister Modi met with his Mauritian counterpart Navin Ramgoolam, with whom he is scheduled to hold bilateral talks. Mauritius also announced its highest award, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of the Indian Ocean, for Prime Minister Modi. Before the talks, the Prime Minister landed in Port Louis to a very warm welcome. He was received by Mauritian Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam, who greeted him with a garland. A large delegation of 34 ministers and over 200 dignitaries was also present to welcome him. Now, Prime Minister Modi was also greeted by the Indian community in Mauritius. Women from the Indian community honoured him with a traditional cultural performance. As we speak, he is also addressing an event for the Indian diaspora in the country. Members of the Indian diaspora expressed their joy and excitement in welcoming the Prime Minister.
आके बहुत अच्छा लगे अपने प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी से मिलकर और इसी तरीके से भारत और मॉरिशस के रिश्ते बने रहें और अच्छे बने।
प्रधानमंत्री ये तो हमारे लिए बहुत ही बड़ा मोमेंट था और बहुत ही सौभाग्य है हमारा कि उनसे मुलाकात हुई। इनफैक्ट हाथ मिलाने का सौभाग्य प्राप्त हुआ। एंड ही इज अ प्राइड ऑफ आवर नेशन और बाहर तो हम लोग उनको बहुत ही मानते भी हैं। मॉरिशस बहुत ही फ्रेंडली कंट्री भी है।
Prime Minister Modi, along with the Mauritian Prime Minister, also had planted a wood apple tree at the Botanical Garden in Port Louis. His 2-day schedule is also packed. Prime Minister Modi's visit is coinciding with Mauritius National Day on the 12th of March. He will be the chief guest at the celebrations, where a contingent of Indian Armed Forces will participate alongside an Indian Navy warship and the Akash Ganga skydiving team of the Indian Air Force. Now, Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate over 20 India-funded projects, ranging from capacity-building initiatives to community infrastructure development. These events highlight the depth and significance of India-Mauritius relations. Mauritius and India also share strong historical ties. Nearly 70% of Mauritius's 1.2 million people is of Indian origin, who were first brought as workers during the colonial era. Now, Mauritius was among the first countries to establish diplomatic relations with India in 1948. India-Mauritius relations have remained strong regardless of political changes in either country. Now, this is Prime Minister Modi's second visit to Mauritius as Prime Minister and comes at a crucial time. It follows the formation of a new government in Mauritius led by Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam, who returned to power after the November 2024 election. With the Indian Ocean becoming a strategic playground, Prime Minister Modi's visit aims to strengthen strategic, economic and cultural ties. These are some of the expected key focus areas of the visit. Now, first, India funded development projects. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate major projects, including a civil service college and a health centre, showcasing India's commitment to Mauritius development. Second is maritime security. India is a crucial partner in Mauritius's maritime security, providing naval vessels, aircraft and coastal surveillance systems. Talks are expected to focus on increasing defence cooperation. Now, the third is countering China's influence. Mauritius has become a focal point in the India-China rivalry, as both countries compete for influence in the Indian Ocean. While India has been a reliable partner, China has made heavy infrastructure investments, expanding its strategic footprint. And this comes at a time where India strongly supports Mauritius's sovereignty claims over the Chagos Islands, which Mauritius is currently negotiating control over with the UK. And last but not least, cultural engagement. Prime Minister Modi's visit also focuses on strengthening cultural ties, with special emphasis on the large Indian origin community in Mauritius. So, with the heavy agenda, will this visit reinforce India's role as a trusted partner of Mauritius and pave the way for a stronger cooperation? For more on this, we have with us Manisha Dukoni, an economist and international affairs specialist who is joining us live from Tamarin in Mauritius. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Alison. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, how significant is Prime Minister Modi's presence as the chief guest at Mauritius's 57th National Day? And what does it signal about the evolving India-Mauritius relationship under the new government of Prime Minister Ramgoolam?
Thank you very much for these questions. Now, first of all, I'm coming out of an event, a community event that Prime Minister Modi hosted, the government of India hosted. It was so much of fervor and so much of love between the two countries. I would say that what really this is the biggest significance is this partnership between the two countries. The love, as you know, Mauritius for a very long time has been termed as Chota Bharat, meaning small India. But
India, yeah.
With the small India type of relationship, we also have much more of economic engagement and what I would term as geo-economic engagement that is becoming more important in the relationship between our two countries.
Right. And Manisha, with Prime Minister Modi set to inaugurate more than 20 India-funded projects, what are the key areas of cooperation between the two nations? And how do these projects align with India's broader strategic and economic interests in the region?
Well, as you may know, India was the one that funded one of the big mega projects in Mauritius, which is the Metro Express, a light rail system, which covers most of, actually all of our towns and has gone beyond as well. And that has been a major undertaking, first of all, from the government of India. From there has also been a lot of infrastructure related support. But apart from that, 4 years ago, the government of Mauritius and the government of India signed a SECPA agreement, which is an economic cooperation agreement. And that agreement has got a lot of opportunities. There's, of course, goods-related opportunities, but there's a lot of services also related opportunities, and a lot of the investments and discussions that are happening are also aligned with some of the priority sectors that have been identified within the SECPA agreement. As you know, medical is something that is very important for Mauritius and India as well. And the medical sector, the biopharmaceutical sector, for example, has been supported. You also have the setting up in India, for example, there has been a lot of reforms in the public sector. So there is a public sector services related institution that is being set up. And this is very new for the country. But we're hoping as well that there will be, because I'm guessing there's going to be more announcement as well, that this cooperation, especially in the infrastructure front, continues, because there is, especially when you look at first of all, the cost of this per kilometer, for example, for the metro. If we had gone via other entities, non-Indian entities, it would have been enormous and really difficult for us to meet these costs. So cost-wise, it's something that is very positive for us. And we're also hoping in those discussions that at that geo-economic front, that there be discussions with respect to the Chagos archipelago as well.
Right. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And shifting focus to the Horn of Africa now, a region where the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean intersect. This strategic hub has expectedly attracted the attention of global powers, including China, the UAE and Turkey. Now a new player is entering the region's port race, Saudi Arabia. Now reports indicate that Saudi Arabia is planning a multi-billion-dollar investment in Eritrea's Asab port. This move aligns with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030, which aims to expand Saudi economic and strategic influence in Africa and the Red Sea region. The investment aims to modernize and expand Asab's infrastructure, but Riyadh's interest goes beyond economic development. It is a geopolitically strategic one that could redefine power dynamics in the Horn of Africa. Now, Saudi Arabia plans to invest in Eritrea's Asab port. This is a strategic location close to the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Now, making this an essential asset for maritime trade and security. Riyadh is joining a growing list of foreign players already investing in the Horn of Africa ports. Its neighbor, the UAE, has made substantial investments in the region, particularly in Somaliland's Berbera port. Now, Somaliland is Somalia's breakaway region, and it is growing ties with foreign nations, creating tensions in the region. Meanwhile, Turkey has modernized the Mogadishu port, investing heavily in Somalia's infrastructure. Turkey also maintains a military base in the country. Then China has also expanded its presence in the Horn of Africa through the Belt and Road Initiative. Its most significant investment is in Djibouti, where it also maintains a key military base. Saudi Arabia has also been increasing its engagement in the region. In 2018, it brokered a peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Now, its potential investment in Assab could reshape regional power dynamics. Landlocked Ethiopia has been pushing for sea access in recent years. Recently, it signed a port deal with Somaliland, fueling tensions with Somalia. But Ethiopia has also previously eyed Eritrea's port of Assab. Now, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed even reportedly hinted at military action to seize control of the port. Now, Ethiopia has received financial and strategic support from the UAE and Turkey. But Saudi Arabia's new pact with Eritrea could change the balance of power in the region. A Saudi-backed Assab port could bolster Eritrea's strategic position, strengthening its claims against any potential Ethiopian aggression. The question now, will this redefine power in the Horn of Africa? Let us now shift to West Africa, where a new peacemaker is stepping in to mediate between the Sahel juntas and the regional bloc ECOWAS. Ghana's President John Mahama embarked on a crucial diplomatic mission to Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso over the weekend, seeking to rebuild dialogue and ease tensions between ECOWAS and the junta-ruled West African countries that exited the regional bloc earlier this year. His first stop was Mali on Saturday, where he held talks with the Malian President Assimi Goïta on economic and security issues as well as regional tensions. Now, after this, Mahama then headed to Niger on Sunday, where he held closed-doors discussions with General Abdurrahmane Chiani on ways to improve regional security and trade. He then concluded his tour in Burkina Faso on Monday, meeting with Captain Ibrahim Traore to discuss bilateral ties as well as trust building between ECOWAS and the Sahel states. The three Sahel states, which experienced military coups between 2020 and 2023, formally left the Economic Community of West African States, or the ECOWAS, on the 29th of January, criticizing the bloc's subservience to former colonial powers such as France and its incapacity to support their counter-terrorism efforts. Now, several mediation efforts by Togo and Senegal tried to prevent this split in the region. However, the military regime said that their departure was, quote-unquote, irreversible. Since deciding to leave the bloc, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger have strengthened their ties by forming another regional bloc, the Alliance of Sahel States. Now, they have grown closer to Russia for military support and have pushed to reduce influence from former colonial powers. Mahama, who has also formerly been the chair of ECOWAS, has been seen as a familiar and trusted face in the region. The Ghanaian president helped to resolve the 2016 Gambian political crisis, and now, based on his experience, hopes to play a similar role in rebuilding relations between ECOWAS and the Sahel juntas.
I've come with a new mandate from the people of Ghana and maybe with a new face. So I will offer myself as the bridge between ECOWAS and the three countries and see how we can work with them so that they not only remain within our sub-region but also do the transition to constitutional democracy. We're prepared to help them to fight terrorism, because in Africa we all know that when your neighbor's house is on fire, you have to help him to quench it before it spreads into your own compound. And so we'll continue to stretch out a hand of friendship to the three sister countries so that we can continue to work together.
However, Mahama's diplomatic mission comes at a time of growing uncertainty. ECOWAS continues to seek ways to maintain regional cooperation following the withdrawal of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso. The security and humanitarian situation in West Africa has deteriorated with the ongoing instability and escalating terrorist threats. Despite the tensions, ECOWAS remains open to dialogue, leaving the door open for the Sahel juntas to reconsider their exit. So far, the three countries have not indicated any plans to rejoin the regional bloc. But Mahama's visit to Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger may be the first step in a longer negotiation process, one that could shape the future of the regional diplomatic ties in West Africa. Will this diplomatic effort be enough to bring these three countries back into the ECOWAS fold? Or are Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger determined to carve a new path for themselves? We will continue to get you updates on this. And for our last story for today, we turn to the escalating and unchecked use of drones in Africa's conflict zones, where strikes by unmanned aerial vehicles have resulted in significant civilian casualties. A new report published by the UK-based campaign group Drone Wars reveals that nearly 1,000 civilians have been killed and hundreds more injured in military drone attacks across Africa. At least 50 deadly strikes by African armed forces have been confirmed over the past 3 years up to November of 2024, with analysts describing a striking pattern of civilian harm with little or no accountability. Now, the report also highlights the increasing use of low-cost foreign-made drones across the continent, raising serious concerns about transparency. It also notes that most armed drones in Africa are imported from Turkey, China and Iran. Now, experts warn that drones, which can fly remotely for hours and carry out both surveillance and airstrikes, are becoming a preferred tactic in conflicts across the region. The use of armed drones has been confirmed in at least 6 conflicts in Africa, including Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso and Ethiopia, where the majority of strikes have taken place. Now let's take a close look at the impact of these drone strikes that have in some cases struck markets, residential areas and hospitals. In Ethiopia, drone strikes targeting groups like the Tigray People's Liberation Front have resulted in over 490 civilian deaths across 26 attacks. In Mali, at least 64 civilians have been killed in 9 strikes conducted by the armed forces against separatist groups in the north. In neighboring Burkina Faso, researchers found that more than 100 civilians have been killed in drone strikes carried out by the country's military. Now, the report says that the misuse of the drones and the lack of regulation have led to 940 civilian deaths since November of 2021, a figure it describes as conservative. According to the findings, the following countries are currently operating armed drones in Africa. It's Rwanda, Kenya, Niger, Mali, Djibouti, Burkina Faso, Tunisia, Somalia, Togo, Chad, the DRC, Sudan, Ethiopia, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria. With drones becoming cheaper and more widely available, experts warn that civilian casualties could increase even further. The reports also warn that the existing international regulations have loopholes, allowing military forces to avoid transparency and accountability when using these weapons. So, as drone strikes in Africa increase, the question remains, how can these weapons be effectively regulated? And who should be held responsible for their misuse in the continent? And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.